Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi says the newly established Border Management Authority, which Defence Minister Thandi Modise also touched on, will have jurisdiction to make arrests only in South Africa. The BMA, that's the acronym for the new authority, will be a combination of various law enforcement agencies, including immigration policing. But Lesotho's Home Affairs Minister, his counterpart, says the law enforcement agencies from both countries will respect each other's sovereignty. Let's touch base now with our reporter, Tumaole Mohlaoli, who is at the Maseru Bridge port of entry. Tumaole, it's been a busy morning of going across the borders, but quite important to highlight legally this time around. What can you tell us about those engagements between the two ministers, if we still have you indeed on the line?
Well, Erin, those engagements between both ministers were preceded, of course, by a meeting behind closed doors, and it seems as if there was a lot to discuss. And both ministers emerged and held a press conference, which just ended with a South African press contingent, as well as Basotho national media there as well. And let's get it straight from the minister himself. A lot of issues touched upon, and we're now joined by Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi. Dr. Motsoaledi, the issue of marriages and the permits, it seems to be a matter that is dear to many people and of concern, because intermarriage between Basotho nationals and South Africa is a commonplace, with both countries, of course, being so close to each other. Lesotho is surrounded by South Africa. Please clarify, how will it work if a Lesotho national is married to a South African? Will they still have to go back to Lesotho to stamp their permit and make sure they stay within the period?
Well, the issue of whoever you marry is something that is not regulated by anybody. It's a natural thing as to which woman on earth you marry, regardless of where they come from. Then thereafter, after seeing who you want to marry, you have got to follow the rules of that particular country. You might be aware that I've submitted to the ANC conference, and it has been adopted, a new policy on migration. And we are overhauling the whole migration issue in South Africa. One of the things we are looking at is marriage, because we think the manner in which it's done is wrong. Marriage is a sacrosanct love relationship between two people. It shouldn't be informed by something else. The other things must be informed rather by two people having loved each other. It shouldn't be the other way around. What am I talking about? You can't marry a person because you want to resolve an issue of migration. It's wrong. You marry that person because you love them. You want to start a family with them. You want to start an everlasting relationship. Migration must be something that follows thereafter, or must come differently. At the present moment in South Africa, they are linked, whereby women are being targeted to get married because somebody wants to ease their processes of migration. And this makes women targets who are involved in loveless relationship, fake marriages, and marriages of convenience. And we want to bring that to an end and say marriage is one thing that is natural. It has always been coming. It has always been there. Let it be ruled by marriage laws. Immigration must be something else, which must be regulated through immigration laws. Basically, that's what we're saying.
How will this separation be managed in terms of practicalities? We are here at the border post. How will it work, and how will officials enforce whatever laws, of course, govern the migration of people between both friendly states?
All I am saying is that you should not marry somebody because you want to resolve immigration issues. You shouldn't. Immigration issues must be resolved through immigration laws. Marriage is a love relationship. It should be left to be like that. Because otherwise, if you conflate them, you cause the problems that we are faced with now. Now, because the ANC conference has accepted the document we've produced about a new immigration policy, we will then sit and develop the policy, send it to cabinet, and even develop laws that will give an answer to the questions that you are raised with. At the present moment, there are many women who are in loveless relationship because they thought somebody loved them, when actually the person did not love them. All they wanted are immigration papers. Once they get them, they start abusing them, they even throw them away. You can come to Home Affairs, I'll show you a list of women who have been divorced immediately after the person who married them got what they wanted, which is what? Immigration papers. It can't go on like that. It actually even extends to children, which I think is evil, whereby the immigration law allows you to do something because you've got a child. And a man doesn't want to have a child, but he said, let me have a child in order to solve this immigration problem. That's wrong. And we are saying the relationship between a man and his children must be regulated by the Children's Act in South Africa, which is quite strong. The relationship between you and wife must be regulated by the Marriage Act. Immigration must be something separate. Basically, that's what we're saying.
And let's talk quickly, I have to hand back in a short while, Mr. Minister, the issue of the Border Management Authority and its jurisdiction. Where will it have jurisdiction up to? If people cross over the border having committed crimes that are within the scope of responsibility of investigation of the Border Management Authority, will they be able to chase them into Lesotho and vice versa?
Because the Border Management Authority is a South African entity. In terms of the Act, the Border Management Authority Act, from the border until 10 kilometers into South Africa, that's where the Border Management Authority is going to operate. In other words, if you commit something within that radius of 10 kilometers, the Border Management Authority has still got jurisdiction. Now, as to its jurisdiction into the other country, that will be subject to bilateral relations between us and that particular country. And such discussions are going on between the Border Management Authority Commissioner and the neighboring countries. But in South Africa, it's 10 years. It's 10 kilometers. Within that, we regard you to still be at the borders. In other words, if you commit a crime there, you are regarded to have committed that crime within the border environment. Only after 10 kilometers will the Border Management Authority give over to police. It does not mean that within that 10 kilometers, police don't work. They still work if a crime has been committed. But it's an area which the Border Management Authority has got jurisdiction over.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there. That was Dr. Motsoaledi, the Home Affairs Minister of South Africa, just clarifying exactly about the BMA's jurisdiction and other issues, including intermarriages between Basotho nationals and South Africans, and how, the new regulations in terms of permits will affect them, including children, spouses, children, and families in general. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
Tumaole there, thank you very much for that.